It's 2006, and my sisters and I are having a wonderful time at my cousin Kelly's wedding at the St. Paul Hotel. We're laughing when my mom shows up. "Girls, your dad wants to talk to you in the lobby, now." Well, when my dad says he wants to talk to us, we run. So we race to the lobby to hear my dad say, "I'd like you to delay the distribution of your trust fund." Girls, really? You're doing this at a wedding? Sure he is. He loves his money, power, and control. We just did this twice in the last 10 years. He thinks we're going to get lazy if we get something before we're 90. Well, I love working. I was a corporate business exec, and now I've had a long-term coaching business. So I'm used to my dad bullying us with his money and then punishing us when we don't do just what he says. Not listening to my dad caused my brother to be cut from the will and eventually disowned. I was actually afraid to say no to him for 50 years. But right then, something in me snaps. "Dad, I won't be delaying that distribution a third time." My sisters agree, and we head back to the party. Although my dad was angry, my mom was scared, I felt great. Shortly after that, I attend a seminar and I learn about energy healing. I study it and practice it until I'm certified in several different systems. And then, a few years later, I'm visiting my parents. My dad corners me. "If those Democrats get in power, the economy's going to go south. You didn't invest in the stock market, did you, Nancy?" Well, I don't entertain those comments anymore. In fact, I diffused so many of them over the weekend that right before I leave, he says, "You sure have gotten nice, Nancy. What happened?" That's when I know for sure that the energy work has transformed my fears around money, power, and control. I'm no longer intimidated by my dad. So I incorporate the energy work into my business and I rename it the Joy Effect. My dad's interested in results, so I tell him, "Angela doubled her business in 4 months. Katrina went down to 4 days a week, Dad, and still grew her business almost 20%. About a month later, he calls me 3 times in the hour. Well, I'm like, "Is everything okay?" "Oh yeah, he just called to say, I gave your number to Linda. I think you can help her." After 50 years of fear controlling me, I chose freedom. How often do we let fear and resistance cause us to not go over the finish line? Now, if you're here listening, I know that you're an achiever. And not only does this cause frustration, but it also, really wears at our self-confidence. Wouldn't it be empowering if you had an approach or a model that helped you to create predictable, duplicable outcomes consistently and create joy, abundance, and freedom? I'd like to share a brief version of my conscious leadership model that helps me do that in my life. So, conscious leadership. Do we need another model? Well, when I talk about leadership, I'm talking about taking complete control of ourselves, right? Leading ourselves optimally in order to lead our team effectively. And why conscious leadership? Well, our paradigm has shifted so dramatically over the last 10, 5, 1 year, even 6 months. I mean, when you look at the variables in your life, our connectivity, our mobility, and a variable called consciousness, that has shifted so dramatically. We now are moving from a pure data-driven, power and control type of decision-making to one where we have to ask, how does it impact humanity? Is it allowing us to tap into our free will and make decisions that are optimal for us? You see, when we have influences that change us, we need leadership to address that. This new model requires cooperation versus competition. It doesn't remove the focus on going after what you want and achieving it. It's just how we do it that changes. So what is conscious leadership? It's really an approach to change that taps into and addresses this paradigm shift, because change is difficult for most people, isn't it? So there's two criteria that I attribute to conscious leadership. The first one is authenticity. And in this model, and when I speak of it, I'm talking about taking 100% control of who we are and responsibility for everything, how we show up, our outcomes, all aspects. Being our whole selves for all activities and knowing that that matters, that's an important element. When we speak our truth and we're consistent, no matter the audience. And finally, we're all connected. We're all connected everywhere. And so we need to make decisions that positively impact each other. So the second characteristic is that of empowerment. We want to empower ourselves and our team to be authentic. We want to operate from trust versus control. It's no longer a hierarchical model, right? Top down. And we also have to have an abundance mentality. We want to know that we're giving everything we can to our team. We're not going to hold back because there's plenty more where that came from. How does this show up in behavior? It shows up as acceptance of self and others. It shows up as making win-win choices, because it must be that way for all involved if outcomes are to be sustainable. Finally, what are the benefits of conscious leadership? In 2 words, accelerated transformation. If accelerated transformation is important to us, then shouldn't we be choosing time-tested, duplicable models that allow us to create outcomes as desired? All right, well, let me share a little bit about what the 3 key principles are in this conscious leadership model. I'll have the first slide. Actually, that was the second slide. So let's go to Simon Sinek. So I like the way Simon Sinek frames the environment we're trying to create, one of empowerment, right? Okay, now the next slide. So there's 3 key principles, and the first one I want to share with you, you can move the slide to the next one, is leading by intention. There is not one project, one goal, one intention that I work towards where I haven't really thought through the vision I want to create for the end game that incorporates more than just a single financial goal, for instance. You see, it's not enough to say, I want to make $1 million by the end of this year. We need to define how we want to be when we get there. Do we want to have our health? Do we want to still have our relationships? And yes, we do want to establish, perhaps, we're all here to grow a business. So there's going to be a financial piece as well. But we want to make sure that we're asking a couple key questions in establishing that very important intention. Does it serve our purpose? And does it serve humanity? Well, in order to serve our purpose, we have to know that that intention came from within, that we are accessing our intuitive guidance to know that that's from us and that it's not from a mind-controlled societal expectation or, from our parents or from the media, for instance. We also need to know that it needs to be win-win. It's no longer enough for us to work towards something just for ourselves. When you look at organizations, both business, religious, and other organizations that are self-serving as their primary goal, they disintegrate. You're seeing that around. You're seeing that in our environment at this point. And I believe we're going to see a lot more of that as we move forward. So a second key question is, does this intention bring joy, abundance, and freedom to you and the people that are supporting you along the way? You see, our feelings are our GPS, and we use that for creation. So you want to maintain that higher vibrational feeling state. A couple key things to know if that's happening. Is this intention big enough that you're going to grow to the desired, to the level that you want to expand to? Also, is this intention worthy of all of the resources that you absolutely are going to put to creating it? once you've established that you have strength in this intention, all other questions afterwards are pretty easy to decide. So if you have established your intention, and as you're establishing strategies to create it, to reach it, every single time you have a question about, does it serve you? All you have to say is, does this make me accomplish my goal faster? And if it does, you know you have the right strategy. If it doesn't, it's an easy decision after that. When you look at the intention through the lens of consciousness, everything changes. And this is the number one differentiating factor between conscious leadership and other leadership models. Next slide, please. The second key principle is leading with commitment. If you have that belief and that strength in your intention, you're going to be able to overcome risks. And you can equate risk with fear. Of course, the bigger the intention, the bigger the fear or risk. Since we know our feelings are our GPS, we want to optimize them so that we can direct which way we're going. We also know that if you have absolute commitment to this intention, you will exact self-confidence. And what I mean by that is you're going to be able to figure out, what do you need to do? You can figure that out. And that's true for everything that comes up along the way towards the outcome. So what do you think needs to be done to create that kind of a commitment? Well, I believe that we need to optimize and align our internal environment, which includes our mental, our emotional/spiritual, and our physical energy states. And we have to align our external environment as well. Once you have these aligned and optimized, what you've created is a distraction-free structure that's going to help you achieve your outcome much more rapidly. All right, next slide, please. The third key principle is leading through energy. This is probably the key difference from all other leadership models. When you have a committed intention, you have an available energy that will help you in a way that's hard to describe. Energy naturally follows intention. So learning how to tap into that energy is really the key. I spend most of my time working with people to help them do that, because this energy, this access to intuition, and then learning to trust and implement it is very powerful, and it is probably the single most important factor in determining and creating the outcomes that you really desire. When you access your intuition, you're actually tapping into your higher brain thinking. And so why is that important? You want to do that so that you can have what I call just-in-time optimal solutions. There's a formula I use when I talk about energy follows intention, and that is 1 + 1 = 11. So that first one is the natural energy you get when you are committed to your intention. The second one is referencing the fact that we are free will human beings. And so we actually have to ask for help from people, from our higher power, from the universe, whoever you go to have that extra support. That energy is available to you. That kind of energy can help you remove blocks, remove limiting beliefs, remove fears. It puts you on a path to minimize resistance, optimize flow, and create outcomes in optimal, accelerated timing. I've used this conscious leadership model for a number of years, and I have to tell you that it has absolutely helped me optimize my health. And I had a lifelong sleeping challenge that caused a lot of illness for me. I've been able to eliminate that, and sleep is critical for all energy and for so many things. That is now, I sleep like a baby. It's also helped me to optimize relationships, both professional and personal. I get real joy on my relationships in a way that I never knew could be possible. It's helped me to remove worry, anxiety for all future things. So I don't have to ask anymore, is this the right path? Is this going to work out? Am I going to make money? I actually surrender those concerns. I trust that I will be guided to the right, just-in-time, optimal outcomes. And most importantly, this conscious leadership model has helped remove my fears that I had for a long time. We all have fears, and it's made a profound difference in that way for me. Can you imagine how you'll feel when you have an approach that helps you reach your intentions without fear and resistance? Well, when you lead with intention, by intention, with commitment, and through energy, you can create exactly what you want and create the freedom that you desire.